One of the early teachings I remember from Ajahn Chah that I translated was, we don't study and practice the Dhamma to become an expert in the scriptures or the best meditator, but to let go. It's normal when we come to meditate, we bring all our baggage with us in our mind. Our personality, our karma, our culture, all the things we've learned and our habits. What we often call the worldly thinking. So even when we approach Buddhist meditation, we often feel we have to study and know everything, have to be able to answer every question, every doubt. The more we know, the more successful we'll be. Sometimes even we feel we have to be better than other people, sit longer, have more experiences, see more, know more in our meditation compared with other people. This is not surprising because in the world that's what people are always doing, isn't it? Spend a lot of our youth studying to gain knowledge, to get qualifications so we can go out into the world. So generally we think the more we know, the better. But we're also competing with other people. We're even taught to compete, not just in sport, but in exams and creating wealth and getting on in whatever job we do. We often feel obliged to compete with others. So that's our background when we come to meditate. But I think most people who do study Buddhism and meditate soon realize, well, that's way of thinking, even though it's normal in the world, it's going to be mixed up with a lot of craving, clinging, conceit, and bring us lots of suffering. So for the new meditator, often you hear people say, I don't really know much about Buddhism, what the Buddha taught. He seemed to have taught so much. There's so many volumes of the Tripitaka texts, commentaries, there's the Vinaya, there's the Abhidhamma, there's so much. How am I ever going to learn all that or know all that? But again, Ajahn Chah said, well, you just start where you're at. Just know your body and mind in the present moment. In Buddhism, we talk about the study as pariyatti Dhamma. Reading, learning, listening to teachers, gaining information gives rise to a certain kind of knowledge or wisdom. Pariyatti panya. Panya means wisdom. And everybody has to have at least a basis in knowledge in order to practice. But how much depends on each person's individual character, some people really inclined to study. I know monks who have read the Tripitaka from cover to cover over a period of a few months without even sleeping. It's so inspired just to read and study and find out about the words of the Buddha. Many people are like that when they start practicing Buddhism. They want to learn, they want to read more and more and more, get more knowledge. But as Ajahn Chah said, it's the knowledge we get is to help us practice to let go. It's not an end in itself. So the pariyatti, the texts and the talks, is for the patipatti, the practice. Another way they talk about wisdom, they say it's the wisdom that comes from the pariyatti, from reading and listening, memorizing. Call that suttamaya panya. And then we have to internalize it, try and remember some or all of what we've heard, think about it and try to understand it in our own mind. This is called Cintamaya Panya, using thought to understand the Dhamma. When I was growing up, they said, use your thoughts to put two and two together, so you can understand things, work things out in your mind. But even that isn't going to free you from suffering or the defilements. We need bhavana maya panya, wisdom or knowledge that comes from bhavana, training the mind, training the heart. And that training the mind is what we call meditation in English. It means both calming the mind, samatha bhavana, bringing the mind to stillness, peace, calm, and then vipassana bhavana, developing clear knowledge, clear vision of the way things are. When the mind is peaceful or still, then you have a chance to see or know the way things are without adding on extras. When we're not that peaceful, we tend to add on to our experience. So you add in your 10 cents worth. When you see something, then you have your perception, I like that, or I don't like that. I want that, I don't want that. So instead of just seeing, there's all this extra stuff, the add-ons that come in, and that's where suffering begins. We start thinking, creating, imagining, telling stories. Instead of seeing is just seeing, hearing is just hearing. The mind goes rushing off, creating all kinds of moods, attachments, views and opinions. That's why we need the samatha bhavana, just to calm the mind down a bit, slow that process down, apply the brakes to the mind that's sort of rushing off, always following its opinions. And that's why a meditation retreat is a good time to practice that, slowing down. You see, the first day of the retreat, still lots of mental movement, thinking about coming into the monastery, where you're going to stay, what are you doing, getting your place set up. Then you've got all the memories of what you left behind, the family, the kids, the work, the place you live, the friends, the social events, all kinds of things we left behind still coming up in the mind. Plans, what we're going to do after the retreat, still coming up. So it takes a few days of patient practice for that to settle down, and for the samatha, you might say the samatha to kick in, and you're more calm and restrained with your speech, your actions, more mindful, practicing letting go in different ways, and then maybe your mind settles down a bit more than usual, and you might experience some brief or longer moments of calm, stillness, what we call samadhi. Samadhi isn't an isolated experience. It comes from many different qualities of different factors working together. So we call it samma samadhi in Buddhism. That comes from samma ditthi, developing right view. That might mean the view that unwholesome mental states rooted in greed, anger, delusion, fear disturb the mind, cause us suffering. So they're to be abandoned, let go of. In the view that wholesome states bring sense of well-being, peace, happiness, they're to be developed, brought up. And learning to view those thoughts and mental states correctly. Right view, to know what is merit and what is not merit. The words are punya and bapa, bun and bap. Punya is to be cultivated, bapa to be abandoned. Or the more technical term, akusala dhamma and kusala dhamma. Akusala dhamma is to be abandoned, kusala dhamma to be developed. When you start abandoning akusala dhamma, then there's more kusala dhamma left over. And your mind starts to become more peaceful. The feeling of well-being, the stillness of the mind comes up. Like Ajahn Chah said, when you have something that's dirty, like a dirty floor in the toilet, or a dirty table in the kitchen or something, you start off with dirt, but if you rub and you wipe and you use some cleaning technique, then cleanliness arises out of the dirt. When the dirt's gone, then you're left with that which is clean, a clean floor, clean table. When you abandon unwholesome mental states through your effort, then peace arises, wholesome mental states are left. When you give up anger, then kindness is left. When you give up greed, then calm, restraint, stillness is left. You give up delusion, then mindfulness will be left, and so on. Often the most peaceful states of samadhi arise when we've worked hard to let go of a particular unwholesome mental state. So if you've been really angry, but you work hard to restrain your speech, your action, let go of those negative thoughts, be patient, and then keep working to let them go, then often the peace and the samadhi that arises afterwards is very deep, profound. If you've been very restless, agitated, worried about something, you finally find a way to let it go, then the mind goes really calm. If you've been really desiring something and you finally realize, oh, this desire is just making me suffering, and you let go, then the mind goes really peaceful. The peaceful mind, we don't need to be afraid of, we can enjoy it, we can be more accepting of it and keep with it as long as we can. People often ask the question, they say, if I've been meditating and my mind becomes peaceful, what do I do next? You don't have to do anything next, just keep staying with the peaceful mind, just know it, be with it. It has a cleansing effect on your mind. When we say peaceful, we mean the unwholesome mental states, greed, anger, delusion, fear, worry, stubbornness, laziness, jealousy, rage, all those unwholesome mental states have gone. So enjoy it. Sit there or walk, depending on what posture you're in, for a long time. If you're peaceful when you're walking, just keep going. If you're peaceful when you're sitting, keep going. Occasionally people even become very peaceful when they're eating food. Doesn't mean to say keep eating, it might actually mean stop eating. Just enjoy the peace. We don't need to be afraid of the peaceful mind or stillness, because it's something we have to experience often. It'll help the mind become more used to, familiar with the qualities of a peaceful mind. The lack of anger, the lack of worry, the lack of desire. This is a state you have to get to know. If you've ever been peaceful in samadhi, you tend not to forget that. Even if you can't always achieve it, you know you have achieved it. You can use that. One monk I knew, he said, if I'm really struggling in my practice, I just think of the time when I was peaceful in samadhi, I remember it, and then I go back into it, just by remembering it. Sometimes it's as simple as that. So we have to value the peaceful mind, the stillness, the feeling of well-being. Comes with what we call piti and sukha. Piti means joy, rapture, coming inside, not from anything outside. Sukha means calm, happiness, contentment. In Thai they have a saying, jit yim. Yim means smiling. So you might think, oh, the smiley face emoji came along with the mobile phone. But meditation masters have been talking about the smiley mind for generations, thousands of years, long before mobile phone. The smiling mind is the mind that's content in itself. Even if you have physical illness or injury, disability, or outside there's a few problems in your life. If you go into the smiling mind, then you get some separation. It's like a holiday, get a rest. This is a very nourishing kind of experience, nourishment of samadhi. Could be for 5 minutes, a few minutes, 5 minutes, could be for half an hour, could be for an hour. This all depends on how things are going. Some people gain some samadhi and it lasts all night. You can sit and walk all night without feeling sleepy. The main benefit is to be able to contemplate, reflect on body and mind, without getting lost in all the thoughts and the moods. So Ajahn Chah said, when you are peaceful, and you've experienced that peace for a while, then turn to contemplate your five khandhas, this body, this mind. And begin with the body, because that's the obvious thing, the easy thing. That could just be turning your attention to visualize your own body. The Buddha broke it down into 32 parts. Can you see each part in your mind's eye when you're peaceful? Hair of the head, kesa, hair of the body, loma, naka, nails, danta, teeth, tacho, skin. Start with the outside bits, then you move inside. The bones, the flesh, the muscles, the sinews, tendons, the heart, the liver, the kidneys. Sometimes you have to use your memory, visual images. Sometimes you just put your attention on a part of the body and maybe an image comes up by itself. It's as if you're exploring internally your own body with a peaceful mind. This also has a very cleansing effect. It helps you to relax tension and stress within the body. But more importantly, is you're looking at your own body with a sense of detached awareness, equanimity, upekkha, just knowing the body as the body. And that sense of ownership fades when your mind is really peaceful. It's just a body. You're no longer looking at it saying, oh, I like the way it looks, I don't like the way it looks, this is right, that's not right. Just getting to know body with mindfulness and wisdom, satipanya. Some people feel attracted to contemplate the elements, the air element, fire element, earth element, water element. The earth element is we say the solidity of the body. It weighs, the sense of weight, solidness in the body. So something like the bones, or the hair, it all has a bit of weight, solidness to it, firmness. Can run through your body parts and look for where the earth element becomes clear. The water element. It's like the glue that holds bits of the body together. Water, we often see water as moving, it's liquid, but actually it also has the quality of binding things together. Like when you cook, you put water into flour to make dough, to make bread or pastry. Well, the body is the same, it's glued together by water. Sometimes the water is very obvious, like blood or urine, spit. But each part of the body has a bit of water gluing it together. Fire element is just temperature, the heat that comes, say, partly from outside conditions. Sun is hot, the weather is cold. Affects your body. When the sun is hot, you sweat. the body gets hot. When the air is cold, your body might feel cold. When you're hungry, you tend to feel more cold. When you're full, you feel hot because you're digesting food, it releases heat. If you move around a lot, exercise, you feel hot. All of these elements, the Buddha said, ask questions, contemplate. Are they a self, or are they just natural elements without self? Heat doesn't really belong to anyone. Coolness doesn't belong to anyone. These are just qualities you can be mindful of. Solidity, liquidity. Contemplating the elements brings you to see the lack of a person or being, me, you, us, them, disappears when you see this. You can even use it in unusual ways. Say you're angry with someone. You ask yourself, are you angry with the earth element? Are you angry with the water element? Are you angry with the air element of that person, their breath? Are you angry with the fire element? Are you angry with the space element? All the spaces between different parts of the body. Where are the spaces? Well, the obvious space element is like the nostrils and the ear holes. So are you angry with their nostrils? We call this depersonalizing experience. As you investigate yourself, other people, helps you to look at people in a different way. We're made up of these natural elements. So then maybe the emotions of love and hate change a bit. There's many ways we gain wisdom, understanding from meditation. Learning how to calm the mind is already some wisdom. When the mind is more calm and still, investigating further, we can see the three characteristics in the body: impermanent, unsatisfactory, not self. We can see these three characteristics in the mind. Feelings, thoughts and memories. They arise, they pass away. There's plenty to look at, to learn from. But in order to contemplate and see these characteristics, the mind has to be calm enough, quiet enough. Occasionally you might be able to use them when you first meditate, sitting, walking meditation, if your mind doesn't settle down with your main meditation object. Well, you can apply some wisdom there then as well. So you just keep thinking about something, you can't let go, you can't concentrate on the breath, you can't concentrate on anything. The mind is just thinking and thinking and thinking. Will bring up the reflection, how permanent or certain are these thoughts? Look at them, watch your mind thinking, whether it's worry, anger or desire. What's going on? So one thought following another thought, following another thought. If you look carefully, you'll see there's a beginning, a middle, and then an end of each thought. Arises, ceases. Maybe you start to notice the ending of thoughts as much as the beginning, rather than getting caught up in the content, the story. It's like you step back a bit and say, oh, this thought, it arose, it passed away, it's gone. Then another thought replaces it if you're not very peaceful, but that also arises and then passes away, it's gone. One monk I know, his main practice was watching the ending of thoughts. When we're not peaceful, we tend to focus on the beginning of the thought. What next? This, that. Think of one thing, think of another, jumping around like the monkey. This monk, he changed it, so he's watching the end of the thoughts. It's like every new thought that came into his mind, he's saying, when's this going to end? How long will this last? Oh, there it's gone, it's finished. So he said he got to the point where as soon as a thought arose, good or bad, interesting, boring, doesn't matter. As soon as a thought arose, he knew it would end. He said from that the mind started to become peaceful. It doesn't grasp or cling on to the thoughts so strongly because you know they're going to end. After a while it's like the mind gives up. Well, what's the point of thinking? They just arise, pass away. So then the mind went quiet, settled down. And then he started focusing on his breathing. And there was no thoughts bothering him. Whatever thought came up, he knows, it's just going to pass away again. It's impermanent. It's like they were dissolving in his mind, so he could just return to the breath. He used this reflection, whatever is impermanent cannot be self. It's not really me because it's impermanent, it's gone. So in meditation we have some room for experimentation, learning things. We take what we learn from the teachers and from the Buddha, but then we have to bring it in and try things out and try and learn for ourselves. And the aim is we're trying to bring the mind to peace, and from the peace then to see and understand things the way things are. Maybe for the last period of this session we can meditate quietly. I'll stop talking and we'll meditate till you hear the sound of the bell.